Okay, now that we have finished cooking 4 dishes with the Otus technique, let me explain you briefly what happened today for me. Actually, I'm not a chef. My name is Alfredo, and I am a musician from Bolivia. That's a country really far away in South America, and I have nothing to do with whatever happened today in this stage. Actually, my friend Ramki came to the place that I'm staying while I was practicing some ragas, because I came to India, to Chennai, to learn about Carnatic music. So I just bought some books and I was practicing, and then he came. And in the morning I asked him that if he could explain me a little bit like how is the food in India, and how do you cook them briefly? Because I know that all of this apparently is really complicated. At least that's how we see these kind of things. So I was surprised because he said, okay, this afternoon you will learn how to cook Indian food. And I thought it was just like a misinterpretation. I didn't thought that I was going to literally be on a stage teaching how to cook different type of non-vegetarian Indian food. So I came here and I see that there's a stage and there are some elements on there, and they are ready to make the video, and just like 20 seconds, or exaggerating, less than a minute before the shooting starts, he tells me what is going to happen. Like, just put first the oil and then put a little bit of water, then put this, be sure that there are no holes, blah blah, and everything takes maybe like 20 seconds of explanation. So I think this guy is crazy. I don't think it's going to come out something interesting. And especially, I don't think that it's going to come out something eatable. I thought that maybe then he will tell me, okay, now we have to fry it, or maybe now we have to add some other elements. But now, after having made chicken masala, fish masala, mutton masala, garlic chicken for the very first time in my life, and without any clue of Indian cuisine, and actually I don't cook normally. I'm dedicated mostly to music. I'm dedicated 100% of my time to music. So this is a very interesting revelation, because I do like the joy that cooking home brings, but that's something that mainly we, I think all of us, think is very complicated, and if we attempt to do it, we try to save for a special time, like for a Sunday where we have more time and we can take our pace to make all of these things. I will never imagine that you can have one meal in less than 10 minutes. Actually, the majority of the dishes that I have done today were under 5 minutes. That's crazy, because 5 minutes is nothing. I waste 5 minutes easily. I think I waste more than that daily. So this, for the normal musician, the normal human beings, quite an interesting technique. From the musician part, I normally sometimes skip foods, or I end up eating only once a day, because I normally study the whole day and practice, and when I do so, I lose the sense of time. So whenever I feel that I should eat, it's already too late. It's like 3 or 4 p.m. and I'm starving, I'm very hungry, so either I do some instant thing that is not tasty at all, or I end up spending a lot of money eating outside. But with these 5 minutes of my time, for sure I can do it, and I still go back to study, to practice, to rehearse, to give shows or whatever. So it's a very interesting revolution what happened right now with me and this Otus technique. And I was discussing this with my friend about how I relate this with Carnatic music in India. Because as I said, that's my main objective being here in Chennai. Because it has been many years that I'm fascinated with the mathematics behind of this art. That you have it in general in the south of India, but talking specifically of Carnatic music that is divided in ragas and talas, mainly, I'm fascinated because concepts that, for example, are a little bit complicated for us in the West, like polyrhythms, or mixing different types of, generating different types of scales, like the ragas, in India they see it as a very logical and very easy thing, because they see these things in a mathematical way. Simple maths. Actually, the talas and the ragas that they use in southern Indian music is just combinations and permutations of the very basics. If we want to put it easier, it's just mixing a couple of numbers all together and seeing what happens. Understanding that when you say 5, actually you have 2 plus 3, you have 4 plus 1, etc. So it opens a variety of possibilities, but you have very basic elements. So actually it's very interesting to relate it with what happened now with the cuisine, because we're using a very basic technique. We're using only one pot, and we are putting things following very basic procedures, like the oil has to be always underneath. Then you start layering depending on the density of the elements. For example, meat is the most dense of these elements, so it has to go on the bottom. If you're going to put vegetables, it depends on the density of them. Like carrots take longer than tomatoes, so you're going to put the carrots underneath and the tomato on top. If it's too dry or it takes longer time, then you add some cuts to the meat in order to the steam to get inside. Some basic things that actually you can summarize in a couple of minutes. It's all based on steam cooking. So the logic of this is that you are using the water that the elements inside the pot have. For example, many vegetables equals to a lot of water. Dry mutton meat doesn't have much water, so you add a little bit, a spoon of water to the oil, and you solve the thing. So with this technique, actually you can cook rice without water, you can make noodles without water. And as I said, and as actually what we were discussing with him, is that I have the same views in music. The things that we tend to see complicated, like harmony, counterpoint, or polyrhythms, that all of those things seem like a big mystery, and actually in India it's just the very beginnings. They should be very basic, they should not take so long to be taught. Same with cooking. It shouldn't take 1 year of a study to know how to make this stuff. Should be something as simple that you have to spend 20 seconds or 15 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever to learn to make a dish. If it's that simple, then the basics are understood, and then you can build on. Today when I was searching for books on Carnatic rhythms, on talas, and actually on the art that is called konakol, I went to the Carnatic music store, bookstore in Chennai, perhaps the most popular here. And Chennai is the key place in South India to learn this stuff. And when I asked for the books for more advanced talas and for more advanced permutations and so, they told me there aren't. There are some books that were written, but you cannot really find like what in the West we have leaks. Like for example, in this chord you can play this thing, or in this style you can play this stuff. They don't. Yet they play super complicated rhythms. And when I asked him like why nobody writes that, he said because in India we call that a word in Tamil that actually the designation for this will be like imaginary music. So this is music that comes out of your imagination. So you learn the basics of Carnatic music, the ragas and talas, and that takes some time. But the very basics don't take so much. But then you spend your whole life developing your own personality according to your imagination of these permutations. And that's what makes unique every performer. So it's the same stuff. To make all of these things, it's just to understand the basic concepts, the order of the layers, the amount of water that you need, and done. The result is either it's good or not, either it's tasty or not. Then, through your life, you can come out with some experiments and some interesting ideas. So I think this made really a big change in my life for sure.